So Chris Christie's presidential campaign is just 2 days old, and his messaging surrounding the Republican Party's frontrunner, former President Trump, is taking shape. In a new interview, Christie outlined why he believes Trump won the nomination in 2016 and why this time will be different.
You know, in 2015 and 16, when we ran the first time, you had a situation where Donald Trump had no record to speak of. He had been on a TV show, had been a developer, private developer in New York. There was no way to really make the case against him. And I think all of us, myself, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, John Kasich, Ted Cruz, all found it very difficult to make the case because he could say whatever he wanted to say. There was no proof point to prove that he couldn't do it. This is different. Today, we know he said he would build a wall across the entire border of Mexico. He didn't do it. About a quarter of the wall is built. He said Mexico would pay for it. We haven't gotten our first peso. We know a lot of other things. Said he was going to repeal and replace Obamacare. He had a Republican Congress for 2 years, didn't get it done. Said he was going to balance the budget in 4 years, left with the greatest deficit of any president in modern history. Said he was going to get rid of the national debt in 8 years and left it trillions higher than when he walked in the door in just 4 years. There is a record here, Jake, on things both very, very significant on public policy, but even on the trivial. Remember, he used to go after Barack Obama for playing golf. And I remember standing on one of the debate stages one time, and he looked in the camera and said, I will not play golf a day because I'll be so busy fixing all of America's problems. And he wound up playing golf for 260 days. So on promises both big and small, he broke them. He disappointed our party. He disappointed the country. And that's going to be the focus of this campaign.
So, Elise Jordan, it's been a couple of days now between Governor Christie, former Vice President Pence, of direct criticism of Donald Trump. We've outlined over the last 90 minutes their records before their criticism in support of Donald Trump. Chris Christie was with him right up through the debates. He did the debate prep and walked away from him around January 6th and all the election being stolen talk. What do they bring together, Pence and Christie, to this campaign in terms of going at Donald Trump in a way that none of the other candidates really have done so far?
Well, it's finally tension. It's finally bringing a full frontal attack. It's finally you have someone stepping up and talking about the misdeeds and what didn't happen and what wasn't accomplished during the Trump presidency. And Chris Christie's uniquely well positioned to do that, given his background as a prosecutor and his personal relationship with Donald Trump. And you look at Mike Pence shifting tactics. It shows that the field is slightly changing, and they see an opening for that, less so than there being an opening for more people to rah-rah and say Donald Trump is great and attack the second-place candidate, Ron DeSantis, who is closer in polling to the lower-tier candidates.
I mean, all the Republicans here are playing the waiting game, waiting to see if any of these indictments might make any sort of difference at all. The first one in New York did not. It only strengthened Trump's poll numbers. We'll have to see what this one, which we believe is coming on classified documents, a federal charge, whether that would change the game or not. We were talking earlier about this balancing act, though, of like, you know, do you attack Trump now, but say, oh, I'll support him if he's the nominee? We should note, though, Chris Christie said on this that he'll, quote, take that pledge as seriously as Trump did, which means not at all. And we should note Governor Asa Hutchinson, who's obviously a minor candidate in this race, but still out there. He is calling on the party to change the pledge.
That's right.
To say that there should be no pledge to support a nominee if that candidate is found guilty of espionage or serious felony. So that's sort of interesting. And it shows that these Republicans, as much as they need to make that pledge to get on the debate stage, they are willing to take the fight to Trump, at least somewhat.
I mean, isn't that the biggest question of all? What does the Republican Party do if a former sitting president of the United States is indicted, and it appears highly likely he will be indicted for various crimes against the country, against the Constitution? Isn't it the ultimate story? What happens to the Republican Party? What happens to maybe one-third, maybe more than one-third members of the House of Representatives, Republicans, who are so entrenched in Trump's MAGA philosophy, MAGA world, that they will not say, okay, that's it, that's enough, I'm not for him? Will that happen? We're going to find out. On Chris Christie, the interesting thing about Chris Christie, at least my instinct is probably wrong, he has no shot at getting the Republican nomination. No shot at all. But from talking to people who observed him on Tuesday, in New Hampshire, making his announcement, he is unbelievably skilled at retail politics. At one-on-one meeting people, he's open, He's smiling all the time. He's having a good time. He'll probably have a good time for a short period of time, given his candidacy. But we've seen it before here with him. I mean, he's a very open and welcoming guy. But again, it gets back to the question of what does the Republican Party do with this dilemma called Donald J. Trump?
And